Welcome back to another episode of Tara's Baddies Club. I am so excited today because today's guest I have connected with a while ago, back in probably 2019 when she got started. And she has transformed her YouTube page, her Instagram, her social media into something that survivors of narcissistic abuse truly need. And I'm really excited today because we get to talk about everything about narcissists. This episode was a quick turnaround. I filmed it probably about a week ago, and my dog was barking the whole entire time. So, just a heads up, there are a few parts where my dog is barking and I try to cut it out, but I am not the best editor, as you may know, and I do this podcast on my own. I edit it, I put it together on my own, I get all the guests, and I pay for everything myself. I truly do not make any money from this podcast. I actually go in the hole from making this podcast. So it's truly a passion project of mine to talk to these survivors, to talk to these people on my podcast. So I am so excited to have today Adriana Bucci. She is Let's Get Your Shift Together, and she is just so amazing. Let's get into talking about narcissistic abuse today. Welcome, Adriana. I'm so excited to have you today because we connected a while ago on Instagram. I was talking to you before we hit record that basically you were a baby on social media when I started following you. And I looked the other day and you have grown so much, and I'm so proud of you. Thank you for coming on.
Aw, thank you so much, Tara. Thank you for having me on. I'm super excited to be here. And yeah, I remember we connected back in like 2019, and you were one of my first followers that I remember. And yeah, I'm just super happy to be here. Thanks so much for the kind words.
Well, thank you. Well, your content is so great. It's so polished. I love how everything flows together. It's such a nice grid, and I can see why you have grown because you also have so much information as well. And I feel like that is also from experience.
Oh, yeah, experience and a half.
My gosh, I love it. Well, for the people that don't know who you are, please share who you are and why you came on my podcast today.
Totally.
Because I also asked you.
Yeah, totally. So, hey everyone, my name's Adriana Bucci. I'm a life coach based out of Toronto, Canada, and I help empower survivors of narcissistic abuse to heal, set boundaries, live life on their own terms, and also heal from chronic pain because narcissistic abuse causes that, and everything is connected.
Oh yes. When I was in a narcissistic relationship, my blood pressure went through the roof. And when I was in the hospital one day, they said, "You really need to calm down. You might have a heart attack right now."
Wow.
And I think that that is one of like the common themes of narcissistic abuse. But I think that it's so hard to realize how much it's affected your body until you step out of it, and then you're healing and you feel your body settle and your nervous system settle.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like for me, it was really crazy chronic pain. Like I had TMJ dysfunction, migraines, carpal tunnel. I got shingles in my mouth at the ripe old age of 30, and then it caused trigeminal neuralgia, which is nicknamed the suicide disease because it's so painful. Like it was just a whole thing. Like I was totally falling apart, and then figuring out the mind body connection is pretty much how I healed and why I'm here.
I love that. And when you do that, when you recover, you truly become an expert. But I'm sure you did a lot of other research as well. What research and what have you done to get informed?
About mind body or narcissists?
Everything, because I felt like when, at least for me, there was a certain stage where I was like, I need to read every book, I need to do all these courses, I need to do everything so that I know everything.
Yeah. So it actually started in like 2013, 14 for me, like so a while ago. And I had just gotten out of a relationship with a narcissist, and it was a short relationship. It was like a 3-monther, but I was so confused. So I actually started to Google his behavior. And that's where I learned the word narcissist. And I figured out like my ex boyfriend before that was a narcissist, and the one before that, and the one before that. And I had a little pattern. And then I found something that said like 10 signs your mother's a narcissist. And I was like, holy shit, like existential crisis Batman. And I went down the rabbit hole, went back into denial about my mother. I did break the cycle with men because I would then find my now husband, who is absolutely not a narcissist. So it's great. But I didn't end the cycle with my mother until like 2016 when, it was a long story, but I found out more truth, and like I just couldn't deny that she basically lied to me my whole life. And I went sort of low and no contact with her in 2019. So that was after I learned about the mind body connection and really figured out like the impact this had on my nervous system, and just how like dangerous narcissistic abuse is and how poisonous these people are. So that, I was Googling, I was on Reddit, like the Raised by Narcissists subreddit back then was really good. And yeah, I did a lot of research. And then I decided to be a coach in 2019 once I healed my pain and also figured out like how to set boundaries and how to actually heal from narcissistic abuse. And yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I think that education is so important and you cannot heal without it.
Yeah.
And how did you even come to realize that you had to leave that relationship and what was happening was unhealthy for you at that time when you were in it?
The 3 month guy?
Yes.
He just randomly dumped me like the day after Valentine's Day. And I know. And I was so confused because we were talking about like moving in together and all this kind of stuff. And then like there were these other really weird like red flags where like he randomly started crying and like revealed he was in all this debt and stuff like that. So there was just all this weird behavior from this guy that I was just like, okay, like what the hell was that? And that's when the researching started really, and it just all clicked together. And sure enough, the next girlfriend he'd have would eventually reach out to me, and we had very similar situations with this guy. So it was interesting.
Wow. Did the guy find you on, or not the girl, did the girl find you on Are We Dating the Same Guy, or did she find you on social media, or did you find her?
No, she just knew my name for some reason, and she messaged me on Facebook.
So he's been talking about you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He cheated on me with her. So she already knew who I was, but he was love bombing her and all that kind of stuff. So it made sense she knew who I was.
I love that so much. And now going into your coaching, how do you start to really like meet with a client? What's your intake with a client when they meet up with you, when you do one-on-one with them?
Yeah, so it was actually chronic pain that got me to the point where I became a coach. So just I actually started off as a pain coach because once I cured my pain from just, learning the mind body connection, basically rewiring my nervous system and not, my brain not seeing pain as a threat anymore, I was like, just something came over me and I was like, I must tell the world about this. So I started off as a pain coach, and then eventually I started sharing about my story and being raised by a narcissistic mother and how that caused me to repress my emotions, which caused the pain anyways. And that's pretty much where we are today. So I kind of use the approach of both healing from pain or mystery symptoms and stuff like that, and narcissistic abuse, because it really does go hand in hand. And the process is a little bit different for every client that comes through. But pretty much I just kind of meet them where they're at whatever stage of healing they're at. Most of them already know that they're dealing with a narcissist and they're done kind of understanding their mindset and just wanting to go inward and do their own inner work because, they've tried everything else. Like they've tried the therapy, they've tried medication, they've tried the support groups, and none of it really works, or it works a little bit, but not as much as they hope. And I'm kind of like a last resort, and it ends up working because most of the other approaches don't do what I do.
True. And I feel like so many people go to the hospital, they say they're in pain, and doctors can never pinpoint that pain.
Yep.
Do you get a lot of clients that have experienced that?
Totally. Absolutely. And even if the doctor can pinpoint the pain, like you can have a structural abnormality in your body, but it doesn't need to cause pain. But your brain kind of has like a map on, you know, like for me, I have a crooked neck and like my jaw's misaligned, but I didn't know that, but my brain knew that. So it sent me the pain signals there so I would believe in it, right? So then you like get the x-ray, you get the MRIs, and then you're paying attention to your body rather than your mind and your emotions. And that can be the case for some people, and some people like it can't be pinpointed at all, and it's like just pain that travels or just these weird symptoms, but the tests come out okay, and that's absolutely the mind body connection.
So interesting. Do you think that there has to be like a certain awareness with that, like to start to develop where that pain is?
What do you mean?
So I feel like the more I become aware, the more I'm able to kind of identify, okay, this is like happening from this is happening from that. And before, when people aren't able to pinpoint or process like what's happening, what do I need to process? It's usually like something around that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like the late Dr. John Sarno is like the grandfather of this work, and he would say it's like repressed rage. Like there's a pissed off inner child in there that is just so full of rage because they got dismissed and shut down and like couldn't, express their emotions. It wasn't safe. And it all boils down to that. And it usually is the case. Like, whenever my clients hit the anger stage, I'm so happy for them. And anger has such a bad reputation because it's like, oh, good girls don't get angry, right? Like it's just so taboo. But at the end of the day, if someone's abusing you, that's going to piss you off. But if you tell a narcissist that you're upset with them for whatever they did, they're going to say you're crazy, you're overreacting, you're imagining things, whatever. And then you end up repressing that. And then I don't think anyone really understands the effect that that has on your physical body.
Yeah, yeah. Do you believe in like no contact at all with narcissists?
Whenever possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if you're parenting with them, it's kind of hard. You can't
Yeah,
just do that because the courts, unfortunately, are like,
exactly.
don't do that. You have to share custody with them. But I think that, at least for me too, when you go no contact, it is extremely healing and you feel normal instead of crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And like if you can't go no contact, it's not the end of the world either. It's really like, you're going to have to learn how to be the gray rock champion and like not give them an emotional reaction and, really stick to your guns and just not react to everything that they're inevitably going to say because they know exactly how to trigger you. So, if you can go no contact, absolutely do it. There's like so much peace that comes after it. And because at the end of the day, like, what are they going to do if there's no like court mandated anything and you can just go no contact? Like, run with it, go for it, because it's the best thing you can do for yourself. But it's easier said than done in a lot of cases.
True. What is the first step that you think someone should do in no contact? Just like cold turkey?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the situation, but you can, again, this is assuming there's no legal reason to stay in contact, but you can literally just stop talking to them, block them, don't interact anymore, all that kind of stuff. Like cold turkey is fine. Some people like to do low contact first and then like graduate to no contact. And then once they do, they're like, I should have just gone no contact to begin with. So, it's just one of those like live and learn kind of things where only you can make that decision. And it's always the right decision at the end of the day, but you have to figure that out for yourself.
True, true. I think that there's so many girls out there that are so nice, so kind, and it's so hard to do that. What advice would you have for them to just do no contact?
Yeah, so think about like if your best friend told you everything that this person was doing to you, they were doing to them, and you love your best friend, what would you tell them? You'd probably tell them to run for the hills and never look back, right? Like sometimes being nice costs us, and you have to really look inward and really ask yourself like, why am I being nice to this person? And you don't have to be rude about going no contact. And you have to really understand too, and this is where, as you were saying, the research part, like the education and the understanding about narcissists is so important, because if you go no contact, the narcissist might be like pouting and making you feel like you just hurt them so badly. And that's, and you have empathy, like you're a perfect target for these people because they're going to prey on that. And you have to recognize that that's a massive manipulation tactic. And you have a duty to yourself to protect yourself first before making somebody who was destroying your life happy.
True, true. And you also mentioned gray rock. You mentioned gray rock. What is gray rock method?
Yeah, so the gray rock method is really, if you have to communicate with a narcissist, so if it's, a coworker or someone that you have custody with a child with, or, even if you're not ready for no contact yet, but, if it's like a family member and you have to see them at events or whatever, you can gray rock. And so this is where you pretty much take on the personality of a gray rock. So you're just dull and boring and like so uninteresting. You're the most boring person ever. You don't have any opinions, one word answers. You didn't have a good day. You didn't have a bad day. You just had a day. Everything's average. The most exciting thing you'll talk about is like the weather. And it's really about like giving them as little supply as possible, which is what the narcissist is feeding off of. They're feeding off of like your emotional reaction, your time, your energy, any attention that you're exerting towards them. Literally what they're trying to siphon out of you. So it's really about not giving that to them.
Yes, yes. I think that that's so important to just go gray rock, not give them certain answers because I feel like they always fish for those answers too.
Absolutely. That's like they're pros at that, and they know exactly how to fish, and because they've been studying you like a creep the whole time, right? So it's like they know your weaknesses, they know your triggers, they know your vulnerabilities, and they will use those to their advantage to really try to get that emotional reaction from you.
Do you have any advice for women if they are in that parenting situation other than using gray rock method?
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, like hopefully you're not living together, right? And this is assuming you have a custody agreement written up by the courts, and that's what has to be followed. You have to have selective communication, right? Like the only conversations you really should be having with the father of the children would be like, okay, this is what time I'm dropping little Timmy off. End of story. And you have to expect the expected, because they're going to say, oh, you're a horrible mother, you're this, you're that. I'm going to fight for more custody, blah, blah, blah. You have to, easier said than done, you have to ignore that, because if you engage with that, they are going to turn it into a whole other thing. So for your own sanity, it's, really just kind of like stick to business. And I know you don't see your children as a business transaction, but you kind of have to treat the situation that way, because there's, you can either drive yourself insane by continuing to do what you've been doing, or try this new approach, which will probably save your sanity in the long run.
True. Well, and I feel that they treat the kids as a business
Yeah,
transaction to begin with.
absolutely. They literally use the children as pawns, right? They're just like a form of leverage for them, which is disgusting.
And it's really interesting because as a mother, as a human being, I'm not a mother, but I'm a mother to my dog that's going crazy outside.
Yeah.
I love them so much. And even though like he's driving me crazy, I would, want the best for him, want to see him happy, want just like the best situation. And I think that that's just like not what narcissists do.
No, exactly. It's, I'm not a mother either. I don't want to be one, but I have had dogs in the past. And like, I couldn't even imagine treating an inanimate object the way my late narcissistic mother treated me. Like, it's just so insane how these people just like use their children. And it's like, it's just so warped how they think, because it's like they really go into parenthood with this idea of like a fresh new little mind that I can manipulate from day one.
Yeah. Have you had to go no contact with your mother now?
She's dead, so
Then there's no
we're
contact
good.
whatsoever.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly.
gosh. Well, I'm so sorry because that's
No, don't
still
be.
something to process, you know?
Oh, it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Perfect. I love that response. Oh my gosh. So, there's a lot of talk about kids having boundaries with their mothers nowadays. What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if an adult child has a boundary with their parent, it's for a reason. Like, we are biologically hardwired to want to be close to our parents, and it's not something that we do because we're bored on a random Tuesday. It's, decades, a lifetime of abuse and like lines being crossed and all that. So I think power to the people who are cutting off their parents and setting boundaries, because at some point, like, you have to do what's right for you, right? You don't exist for your parents. And if your parents believe that, that's a red flag.
True. What about the cases where the narcissistic father is turning the kids against the mother? Have you seen a lot of that?
Yeah, I actually experienced it. So my narcissistic mother turned me against my father, who is also a narcissist, but like he wasn't really in my life, so he's just, we're no contact. He's at an arm's length. But yeah, I have seen a lot of that as well. And I have seen a lot of narcissistic fathers trying to turn the kids against the mother. But at the end of the day, like, there is a bit of an advantage to being the mother in the court system. So at least, the level headed parent does have access to the children half the time. So they do get that good example of a level headed parent, and then they will figure it out when they're older.
Okay. I hope they do. Well, in this case, she's an attorney and she unfortunately has a situation where the ex is like turning the kids against her. And she has one son that is just, her youngest is like glued to her and there all the time and just like such a little cutie. But the two older sons have separated and went off with dad. And so I've seen that in her case and some other cases, but it makes me so sad when the women are like, "Oh, the dad is like telling them this and this about me, but I finally got the courage to leave and I left and they don't understand why."
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like the kids are going to have to figure it out on their own, because they will become targets, especially as they get older and stuff like that. And, still kudos to the mother who still chose herself and left, even though, it cost her children, hopefully temporarily, because at the end of the day, the father's going to do the exact same thing to the children, and they hopefully will start putting those pieces together. And as hard as it is to walk away from that situation, that it's still, she set a good example to her children, even though the children might not realize it yet. But it's like really sharing an example that if you are being disrespected or abused or whatever, you walk away, and they at least will know that that's an option in a relationship when they're adults.
Yeah, no, true. I love that answer. And you also talk a lot about gaslighting yourself, especially after a narcissistic relationship. Can you explain that a bit more?
Yeah, so when you've been dealing with a narcissist for a period of time, their voice kind of becomes your inner voice, and you start doubting yourself. And because they gaslight you, so this is where they change the reality to suit their narrative. And you might start learning about narcissistic abuse and the signs and all that, and then the narcissist does one of them, but then you tell yourself, oh no, he just had a bad day, or I'm remembering wrong. And then it's like you're gaslighting yourself. So their conditioning worked so well on you that your inner critic is now pretty much doing their job for them without them even being present. So it's so important to recognize that within yourself and check it.
How do you start to check that?
So becoming aware, first of all. So, it's easier said than done, obviously. So that's why I did make a free training on it. So if anyone wants to see it, it's at the link in my bio wherever you see me on social media.
Check out the training, guys.
Yeah, it's great. And just really recognizing that, you know, the more you fall for their manipulation tactics, the more you will gaslight yourself, because It really boils down to doing the emotional work, because at the end of the day, all the tactics that narcissists use against you in some way, shape, or form are messing with your emotions. And that's why you're so invested in this relationship. And so once you become in tune with your emotions, you'll actually start being able to hear your intuition. And what you have to understand about that is that like your intuition's a quiet whisper, whereas the inner critic and the voice of the narcissist is like a loud bark. So it's going to overpower it. And so the more that you focus on how you feel, right? Like if you feel upset and you're angry that the narcissist bulldozed a boundary, allowing yourself to be, not in front of them, obviously, right? Like you're going to do your inner work by yourself without the narcissist there, because I read a quote that said, like, showing a narcissist an emotion is like bleeding next to a shark. So.
Oh my gosh, dangerous.
Yes, very dangerous. So, if they do something to piss you off, because everything they do, would piss anyone off, really, allowing yourself to be pissed off, because that's going to give you the message. Like every emotion has a message, and especially anger. And the message is like a boundary was crossed, something not okay happened here. But if you're discussing this with the narcissist, they're going to tell you can't be angry, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. And then you repress the anger, you miss out on the message, and then you stay stuck in that dynamic and you keep gaslighting yourself. So the more you focus on your emotions and processing them and understanding them and just like letting them exist without trying to change them or anything, the more you'll understand yourself and the more aware you'll be, and like, in observer mode about all those critical thoughts that will inevitably come into your brain.
Yeah, and how do you even like check those emotions, especially when it gets to anger? Because I feel like it's so hard to sit with anger.
It is. It really is. And when you start doing the emotional work, it's probably anger might not reveal itself right away, because there's probably going to be layers of other emotions. So, the guilt, the shame, and the fear, I tell my clients all the time, they're the three musketeers. So, and those are the three emotions that narcissists use to mess with you, because anyone who feels in a state of fear, in a state of shame, in a state of guilt is easier to control. So the more you start getting curious about those emotions, even if you can't feel them yet, but you'll recognize guilt, right? Like if you want to say no to this person and you feel guilty, you're gonna know, obviously, because you're gonna want to say yes to them. And so asking yourself, like, how does this person benefit from my guilt? That would be a really good step to, start unraveling those emotions. And then eventually, right, like the layer of fear might come up. And this is not an overnight thing. Like this can take months, years for some people, but it's worth it. It's, like what's the alternative, really? Right? Like not doing it is just going to keep you stuck. And the more you just kind of get curious about whatever emotion's up, right? Even fear, like if you're afraid to leave, why is that? Is there actually a threat to your life? If so, what can you do to get away safely? If not, what are you actually afraid of? Are you just afraid of their reaction? Right? So it's just really getting curious about those emotions.
Yeah, no, that's such good advice. And I love having this conversation with you. I love talking with you today. I love meeting you in person. Well, not in
Likewise.
person, but over Zoom in a sense. And it's just so great. And I hope we get to connect more and more. And the people that don't know where to find you, where can we find you on social media? Where can we take your courses? And what courses do you have?
Yeah, so you can find me on social media at Let's Get Your Shift Together. That's shift with an F and all one word. And I do have a new course called the Shift Program, and it basically takes you from A to Z on healing, and it's one of the best courses I've ever made, if I do say so myself. I do also have some audio courses in my community membership. So wherever you find me on social media, you'll see my link tree there and you'll see all the options as well. And if you watch the masterclass, you get a little discount on the Shift program as well.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to stop recording. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Tara's Baddies Club with Let's Get Your Shift Together. If you want that one-on-one coaching, hit her up. If you want that free coaching course that she does, hit her up. Check out her page. She is truly amazing. And if you want to start a podcast, check out my podcasting course. The podcasting course starts September 1st of 8 weeks of lives. It's amazing. It's if you want to tell your survivor story, if you are content creating that true crime content out there and you want to be more ethical, it's really a great place. Or if you have a podcast already and need a podcast community, come join. It's really fun. We have over 113 exclusive videos, 8 weeks of lives, and a lot of guests that you wouldn't talk to otherwise. So join the course. And until next time, I'm Tara Newell, and thank you so much for listening to Tara's Baddies Club.